Hey guys, I'm Natasha, and like a lot of the country, lockdown has given us the opportunity to bake up a storm in our homes. Neighbourhood Network is inviting you to connect with your community and challenge your neighbours to a bake-off. So to help you master your sourdough bread, I'm going to share with you some top tips for making some great loaves. First off, it's really important that you have a really well-fed, risen and active starter that's really bubbly, that has a nice rise and is ready to bake. So I would recommend feeding it at least twice a day, a couple of days before you bake, to make sure that it's really active. And to check and see if it's active, you can take a little bit out of the container and you can put it in a little mug full of water, and if it floats, you're good to go. And if it sinks, it might need a little bit more time, or if it's been 24 hours or 12 hours, it might actually need to be fed again. So just something to look out for. My starter is made from strong white flour and strong brown flour, which gives a really nice flavour and gives a really stable, predictable starter. And another really good combo for great flavour is strong white flour and wholemeal rye flour, or else plain white flour and wholemeal rye flour, which you can get in rye flour you can get in most supermarkets these days, and it's a really lovely grain. Secondly, always really important to watch the dough and not the clock. So many recipes online and in books will say that your dough will take maybe 3 to 4 hours or 5 hours or so, but actually in truth it really just depends on so many things, and mostly it's all about temperature. If your kitchen is a bit cold, or if you're using a colder water, it might take much longer, or if the kitchen is really warm, or if you use really warm water, then everything's going to be speeding up. So just to make sure that you watch the dough. If there's bubbles, if it's risen within 2 hours instead of the 3 that you've been told, chances are it's ready to be pre-shaped and going into its final proof much faster. When you go to bake, a casserole dish or a Dutch oven really is the best way to bake sourdough for a home baker. But if you don't have one of these, don't worry, because you can just crank your oven up to full, so maybe 230 or even 250, and then put a pan of water into the bottom of the oven, and that water will fill your oven with steam, and steam is what's going to give your bread a really lovely crust, and even a little bit more oven spring as well, which is that lovely pop, that lovely rise that gives you a really high, tall loaf. Lastly, if you don't have a banneton, which is what you put your loaves in for their final proof, don't worry. If you don't want to spend a lot of money on bannetons, which can be kind of expensive, and perhaps we can't all get to a shop these days, is just a regular old bowl and a tea towel, which is going to be well floured, so your dough doesn't stick, and it'll be just as good as a proving bowl as any for you to use at home. Happy baking, and I hope everything goes well for you. Sourdough can be a tricky old loaf, but it's well worth the wait and well worth the effort. Once you start baking a real bread at home, you'll never want to eat anything else. So for more activities and more information, go to neighbourhoodnetwork.ie.